Johannesburg, another city power transformer goes up in flames. Most of Lenasia in the south was plunged into darkness after the Lotus Substation caught fire around midnight. For more details, I'm joined now by City Power's spokesperson, Isaac Mangena, who has an update. And Isaac, this morning, I understand that yourselves as City Power, as well as the MMC, Michael Son, are visiting that area to find out the full extent of what happened. What can you tell us about this incident and its impact on power supply in the south of Johannesburg?
Thanks for having us, Tulas. The MMC has just arrived on site at the Lotus Substation to basically monitor and lead the mop-up operations at this substation. As you rightfully pointed out, there was a fire around midnight, which basically raised down one of our feeder boards in the yard, and so it was completely raised down. We are busy on site currently, basically monitoring the extent of the fire. It was completely bent out, and it's basically going to take some time to basically replace it. So it has affected power supply to several areas, including Vlakfontein, part of Lenasia South, and even Zachariah Park itself. So the MMC is here, and then we will be able to ascertain as to the cost and basically the cause of what caused the fire, basically.
Yeah, so in fact, you preempt my next question. Any inkling, any idea, Isaac, what caused this fire? I mean, your infrastructure is crucial to power supply and, you know, the steady and reliable power supply in and around Johannesburg. So when it goes up in flames, obviously we are concerned as citizens. Do you have any idea what could have caused the fire?
We don't have an idea what could have caused the fire. As I pointed out, this is something that investigators who have been on site since the morning will be able to ascertain and basically take some evidence that they may find on site to see what could have caused the fire. But with electricity infrastructure, there are many things that can actually cause the fire, including the sparks. It could be lightning or even some technical error that could happen. So, but we are not going to preempt what could have caused this one. We will give the investigators an opportunity to go through the rubble and basically let us know what caused this fire.
So talk to me about how soon residents of the affected suburbs and areas can expect to, you know, have power back. Are you able to give an estimated time of restoration at this point?
We are having our technicians here, including teams from Eskom, who are also having a substation nearby, because we've got about 3 or 4 main substations around Lenasia area that we can use to backfit the areas. But we are trying to basically see where the network runs so that we are able to know who is out and who is not out, and whether within the same yard at Lotus Substation there is any feeder board that we can use. We were basically discussing that currently. The MMC was discussing that currently with the chief technicians, to basically ensure that customers, because that is our issue, that customers should not be inconvenienced by this beyond at least 12 hours. So we need to ensure that by this afternoon, at least customers are back on while we're busy fixing this. So we cannot really tell exactly when, but we're looking at this afternoon to see exactly when. But we'll communicate with those customers so that at least they know what to do in the evening, especially during the cooking time.
And the extent of the damage, Isaac, in terms of the infrastructure, is it something that you can restore? Or from what you have seen, basically you might have to, you know, build a whole new substation? I'm asking you to compare it to that other fire that occurred also in the south of Johannesburg late last year at a different substation. I forget the name of this suburb, but I do remember that it had widespread disruption to power supply in the south. And in that instance, if I recall correctly, you ended up having to almost build a new substation altogether and had to do it quite rapidly. Is this one of those situations, or will you be able to restore and restore it to full functionality within a reasonable period of time?
The fire here, Lenasia, really caused an extensive damage. I mean, everything is gutted, basically. We are not sure about the cables underground because there are also cables underground. The team was busy, basically, opening up the manholes to basically reach those cables to see how much of the damage was caused there. With the substation, compared to the substation that we are talking about, that is Robert Sam substation next to Reef City. Robert Sam had a transformer, the whole transformer itself, that was gutted by fire. But here we're talking about a feeder board. A feeder board is where the transformer, it will feed different areas through the feeder board. So you will have different areas coming from that kind of a system. It's housed in a building. So the whole of that building has been raised down at Lenasia. So we are not going to be able to basically use it anytime soon. We will basically ensure that we really rebuild the infrastructure that was inside. The outside infrastructure is still standing strong, but obviously the engineers will basically test it to see if it's still something that can be used. But inside, the whole of the equipment that was in there has been raised down. Compared to Robert Sam last year, there it was the whole transformer that was bent down. Here, the transformer is still standing, but it's only those feeder boards that have actually been damaged.
Lastly, and very quickly, Isaac, confirm the areas that are affected. Is it still Zachariah Park, Vlakfontein, Hospital Hills, and parts of Lenasia South? And is there prospect that more suburbs could be plunged into darkness because of this?
Yes, indeed. The suburbs that are still that are affected remain Vlakfontein, Zachariah Park, parts of Lenasia South, and also Hospital Hills. There are several health institutions around that area that are affected, and we have already communicated to the hospitals and also the businesses that are affected to basically have their generators kicking in so that they do not get inconvenienced by this. But we are hoping that we will be able to move quick to ensure that we restore power to all those affected areas.
All right, I've got to thank you for that. We'll check in with you throughout the day here on eNCA. That's City Power's Isaac Mangena speaking to us about that situation in the south of Johannesburg.